Sonia
I'm
Edwards
good.
from Bryan Insurance with our insurance tip of the week. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm going to be boogieing now.
Oh, you like
for
that boogie
song?
feet
Yeah,
or
I
something?
did. I
Yeah,
did.
hey.
I liked it a lot.
We did the chicken dance yesterday.
Oh,
that's right.
yeah. That.
Embarrass all the kids on the way to school.
All those songs, that stuck song syndrome is a real thing. So.
It's called earworm.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
We've
what
always
it is.
called it stuck song syndrome. You have
Stuck
to hear.
song.
You have to hear something worse.
That's what the,
yeah.
the University of Cincinnati did a study, and they called the study was on stuck song syndrome.
Yeah.
About people that will get a song stuck in their head for years at a time, have to have psychiatric help to get rid of them.
Really?
All I have to do is listen to another song that is more irritating or whatever, like the Lion Sleeps Tonight song.
Oh, don't
you know,
even
if you,
go
you
there.
know, anything that gets in your
Yeah.
head, you just listen to something else and it'll get
And
rid
they
of.
kept running it on that bed commercial.
Yeah.
Or whatever
And
it
then
was, the
you're-
adjustable bed.
Yeah, and then you're stuck with it.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so that's the cure. Is to
That's
listen
one
to
reason
something
why I
else.
always hated when they were burning of Brownwood came to town, because somebody was
Was
going to
gonna
play
play
The Lion Sleeps Tonight
Yeah.
over the loudspeaker. You know?
Anyway,
Well, what's going on this week?
well, we've been talking about trucking insurance, so I
Yeah.
thought I would carry that on. And today I'm not really talking about insurance as much as regulation. And I have not a trivia question, but just a question for you guys. And when I talk about the DOT, that's just a term I'm going to use for any of the authorities over trucking, whether it's federal, state. Why is the DOT more scary than OSHA? Do you know?
Well, one thing about the
Department of
DOT that I've dealt with is that if you don't like the rule they have right now, they'll make new ones to fill it up, and you don't ever know what you're dealing with.
Well, that's not the answer. That's a good answer. OSHA can only shut you down if your employees are in danger. They can fine you, that kind of thing. DOT can shut you down immediately if you're not in compliance, yeah.
Oh.
And I know Rick and I watched The Walking Dead, and you think of Negan, I'll shut that down, no exceptions. Well, that's what I think of, because if they pull you over and you're not in compliance, or if they do an audit, they can show up and do an audit and you're not in compliance, they can shut you down immediately. And so,
Wow.
yeah, pretty scary. I'm not saying that they go around doing that all the time, but they can. And so, for insurance, we deal with filings and that kind of thing, but truckers and trucking companies have to deal with a lot of regulation, and it's confusing. And it's kind of funny, like I don't know if y'all have ever heard of the ICC, the Interstate Commerce Commission. You still hear that, and they haven't even been an agency since 1980.
Really?
Yeah, and they had to, because it's the government though, they had to find other jobs for those people and that kind of thing. So they had a ICC Termination Act in 1995 when they finally really shut down. So now it's the DOT, which is the Department of Transportation, and their focus really is safety. And then they oversee, and I always have to look this one up, the FMCSA, which is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, whose mission is to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities involving large trucks and buses, but they're the ones that find people and have that. So if you are an intrastate motor carrier, which means you're staying within one state, you deal, depending on what you're hauling, you deal with the state. And different states have different rules, and they mirror a lot of times what we're just gonna call them the Fed, how about that, so I don't have to keep looking at my notes. The Federal
I didn't know
Motor
where
Carrier-
she was going with
Yeah.
that. What the F?
The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, they have to, a lot of times they mirror. If you cross state lines, then you're dealing with them. So, and you might hear the word filing a lot of times, and that's where the insurance gets involved. So, depending on what you're hauling, let's go back to one thing. What's a large truck? Because the federal, they say, to reduce crashes, injuries involving large trucks. Their definition of a large truck is 10,000 pounds.
Okay.
So that's almost any pickup. And you put a trailer and haul anything, that's a large truck. State of Texas, you have to have a filing if it's over 26,000 pounds. But I mean, there's just lots and lots of regulation. The filings are, used to be a literal piece of paper, now it's all electronic, where depending on what you haul, what authority you have, and where you go, whether you're in one state or multiple states, your insurance company has to electronically file with the government, whether it's the state, the Fed, both, that you have certain insurance. So if you don't have that, you can't go anywhere. And there are a lot of the larger companies and even some smaller companies that they kind of outsource their compliance because it is so tedious and so difficult. And there's some really good companies around here even that offer solutions for that. So, you know, if you as a small trucking company or a large trucking company, you just don't want to deal with all the rules and regulations because there's a file that you have to keep and it has to have a lot of stuff in it on each truck, each driver. They audit you and you don't have it, you're shut down until you get it right. You can actually outsource that. But the important thing that I want to talk about is when you're talking to your insurance agent, make sure that they understand. They should, if they're writing trucking. They probably have no business writing trucking if they don't understand you need filings. But that they understand and get your filings done for you because you're gonna get shut down if not. And there's one that's called an MCS 90 that, now I have to look to make sure I said the right one. Yeah, the MCS 90 involves hazardous cleaning up if you have a spill. And I'm not talking, well, there's the spill of the fuel that runs your vehicle, but if you're hauling hazardous things in you. And those, the MCS 90, the way it works, your insurance company has to pay if you do have that happen. But if you don't have the coverage on your policy, they come back after you. It's like a bond. So you need to make sure your insurance, you ask your insurance, if you're hauling hazardous material and you have an MCS 90, you better make sure you have pollution coverage on that auto. So it's just complicated and there's just lots of different ins and outs. And we have some people in our office that don't like to talk on the radio, but that they are very, very, very good with trucking insurance, and they would not want you to call them experts. I would consider them experts. But we also know people. We know lots of people that are experts that we can call and we can help you with the issues. But the time to do that is before you start operating, because you do not want to get pulled over or audited and find out you didn't.
So there's a lot more to it than just buying an 18-wheeler and saying, I'm gonna hit the road.
That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. So we always say, don't wait, until you have a claim to find out you're not covered. Well, don't wait till you get audited or pulled over for an inspection to find out that you're not in compliance, because you're shut down until you get in compliance, and that nobody wants that.
All right. Hey, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
When Stacy and I got married, I had a little fishing cabin on a lake. The lake was very pretty. We built a house, tore down the fishing cabin, and yesterday the dam broke. Now there's no more lake. So the house that was there, that I think we've had 3 owners since then that have bought the house since we sold it. They have no lakefront property, and another similar dam broke not too far away, and 3 years later they still don't have any water in that lake. Do they have insurance of any kind that handles non-lake? I mean, you've got flood insurance.
Well, yeah, but are you talking about the fact that it's not valuable anymore?
True.
Yeah. I don't think that there's, not that I know of, any
You've
insurance.
never, that's interesting, because
There's
my phone was going off, everybody I knew was, can you believe this? Because our property was actually on the front page of the newspaper in New Braunfels. And it's bad. I'll show you pictures in a little bit, but it's really bad down there.
When we had the drought at PK, what was it, like 2014, somewhere in there?
2011.
Yeah, and it lasted a long time.
Till 2015.
Okay, yeah. There's a lot of personal insurance policies. There's a limitation for certain coverage if a structure's over water, so a dock. And there was a friend of ours that had a dock in a very deep part of the lake that before that was over, it was no longer over water because the drought was so bad, and we joked because he was an insurance agent, well, I guess you don't have to worry about your coverage now, your structure's no longer over water. But no, I don't know of a insurance coverage to cover that. There's like ordinance and law, but that wouldn't be, I'm just trying to think. Ordinance and law would be if, sort of like the press box issue at Graham High School, if you lose property because of a covered loss and because of a law or ordinance, you have to build something that's more expensive, like with the press box and elevator, but that still wouldn't cover that. I think that's just bad luck, unfortunately. Sorry.
Well,
it doesn't affect you.
I'm glad I don't own it.
Yeah.
But I just wondered about that because the value of the house would have gone to nothing, especially if it goes on for 3 years.
Sure, yeah. No, I don't know, but that's like you said, at least you don't own it, but yeah.
They interviewed somebody from the state, and they said tens of millions of dollars to repair a dam like that. The dam was 91 years old, so they should have been thinking about this
Yeah,
years and years ago.
and I'm just thinking now, I'm certainly not trying to play lawyer, I don't know if there's any legal about the, you know, people,
Well-
the people that were responsible for the dam, that they didn't do what they were supposed to do, and now these people have diminished value, I don't know, that would be a big stretch.
Well, we bring this up because Cisco is, you know,
And
right
so-
there at our
Yeah.
listening, I mean, our tower's right there practically at Lake Cisco. So I can't tell you enough that y'all better get your act together on that, or you're gonna have a Lake Dunlap or a Gonzales, Texas situation.
I would say if it was probably, somebody was liable, there'd probably already be a lawyer and a class action lawsuit already going on that, because I just, you know, if they thought that they could get something out of, because they didn't maintain the dam properly, I don't know.
All
Sorry.
right. Thank you, Sonia. How do we get a hold
Oh,
of
yeah,
you?
you can call us 940-549-2525. Come see us, second floor, Sierra Bank in downtown Graham, or visit us online, www.bryanins.com.